what's going on with Bob Iger's situation over at the Walt Disney Company and exactly why he's now being investigated by the FCC. Not only is the FCC now looking into the Walt Disney Company, but they are now officially moving forward to investigate Disney CEO Bob Iger specifically.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
Movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
Very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
It was supposed to be Disney's triumphant return to magic, a beloved fairy tale, reborn for a new generation. But instead, Snow White became the scandal that shattered the illusion and exposed a storm brewing within the happiest place on Earth. The press tour didn't just cause headaches, it became a full-blown disaster. The Walt Disney Company found itself under siege, with negative buzz echoing long after the movie left theaters. Bob Iger and other top executives spent months scrambling to contain the fallout of what was meant to be a feel-good revival. At the eye of the storm, Rachel Zegler, the actress cast to play the fairest of them all. But her public statements lit a match under the entire production. Soon, whispers of canceled interviews and PR restrictions turned into headlines. Her comments weren't just controversial, they were seen as a direct insult to decades of Disney magic.
This is Rachel Zegler, who Disney decided would be brilliant in casting because, as Rachel Zegler says, her millions of fans will line up no matter what she does to see her.
Critics and fans alike were stunned by the film's sweeping changes. In the 2025 remake, Snow White's name no longer came from her iconic fair complexion. It came from surviving a brutal snowstorm. To some, this was modern storytelling. To others, it was heresy. The character's core was rewritten, and with it, a sacred piece of cinematic history. Zegler didn't back down. She defended the changes, insisting that the 1937 version was outdated. But in doing so, she drew a line in the sand. Detractors were branded as clingers to the past, and that only intensified the outrage.
Look at this acting.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Behind the scenes, the drama deepened. Gal Gadot, cast in a major role, was rumored to be at odds with Zegler. Their alleged friction fueled gossip about chaotic reshoots and on-set tension. Insiders confirmed the rework happened, and that it delayed the premiere until late 2025. Momentum stalled, and doubts grew louder. According to anonymous crew reports, the energy on set was anything but magical. One source claimed the leads weren't on speaking terms during key shooting days. Another said body doubles were used for scenes originally planned to show Zegler and Gadot interacting more directly. The divide between the stars wasn't just rumored, it was logistical.
I'd say that this is one of Disney's biggest regrets ever. I mean, I checked, we've discussed it before. I checked Rotten Tomatoes, and the score is even lower than the last time we talked.
Tensions even spilled over into the crew. Some felt caught in the crossfire between opposing camps, those loyal to Zegler's bold vision, and others quietly frustrated by constant script changes and last-minute production pivots. A few department heads reportedly threatened to walk off set due to what they described as a toxic atmosphere fueled by studio indecision and actor ego.
Movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
A leaked email exchange hinted at disagreements between the film's director and Disney executives, particularly over how to handle the growing media narrative. One executive allegedly pushed for more scenes to be cut to distance the film from Zegler's public image. Meanwhile, Zegler pushed back creatively, demanding certain scenes stay intact to preserve the story's message.
Uniquely unlikable, but then it is actually a terrible film as well, so it's the double whammy.
Creative direction also came under fire. Disney's mission to modernize the tale with diversity and representation split the audience. Some hailed it as a bold evolution, others saw it as a betrayal. The story's whimsical heart was replaced with social messaging, and that didn't sit well with everyone.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Bob Iger hinted at changes ahead, but even as internal doubts surfaced, the studio stayed the course. For Disney, Snow White wasn't just a remake, it was a test. Could they reinvent their legacy without destroying it? Test screenings painted a confusing picture. Some audiences praised the themes, others found the film disjointed and off-tone. Despite rushed script fixes and mounting pressure, the final version felt like a patchwork of compromise.
Controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars.
Online, the divide was even sharper. Boycotts were launched. Rachel Zegler's comments resurfaced again and again. Her critics painted her as arrogant. Her defenders saw bravery. But the damage was done. Gal Gadot, once the film's safety net, was now entangled in the same controversy. Rumors swirled. Had on-set tension poisoned the final cut? Had the reshoots buried the chemistry? This wasn't just another live-action remake. It was a cultural battleground. For loyal Disney fans, the enchantment was gone. They asked, where was the charm? Where was the innocence? Was it worth sacrificing all that for a modern message? Still, some voices cried out in support. They argued that fairy tales must evolve, that without reinvention, nostalgia becomes a cage. Disney's hopes for a breakout hit rode on Snow White, but when the film finally opened, it arrived with a thud. Mixed reviews, divided audiences, a media narrative that refused to fade. Even with visual polish and marketing might, nothing could hide the chaos behind the scenes. Reshoots, script changes, and creative clashes had left scars, and they showed. Zegler stayed defiant. Her message was unwavering. The story had to change. But for many, her tone was the problem. Not just what she said, but how she said it.
At the same time, like, I think going forward, they're going to be like, hey, shut up.
Yeah.
Tight-lipped. Otherwise, guess what? We're clawing back some money.
Yeah. This would have been a lot better if they, had a strong male along with her, a prince, if it wasn't about socialism.
Cultural wars erupted on social media. For some, Zegler was the face of progress. For others, she was the destroyer of childhood memories. And what of Gal Gadot? Her presence was meant to anchor the film. But instead, her silence raised more questions. Was she distancing herself, or just caught in the crossfire? By the time Disney rolled out the red carpet, they were already on the defensive. The media coverage was relentless. Some fans gave it a chance, many didn't. The box office reflected the divide. As the dust settled, Snow White became more than a movie. It became a flashpoint, a referendum on legacy, adaptation, and what audiences really want from their heroes. The film may be gone from theaters, but the debate lives on. Zegler's defiance, Gadot's mystery, Disney's gamble. One film, a shattered fairy tale. And the question that still haunts Hollywood, can you rewrite a classic without rewriting your legacy?